To hell with the date on your birth certificate. Let's talk about what we have in common across generations. Life, sex, and tech at any age. Welcome to Age Blind with Nancy A. Shenker.
Hey, boys and girls, it's Nancy A. Shenker of Age Blind. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. And in keeping with 2025, the theme today is do the new. Do new things that scare you, make you a little bit uncomfortable, that you've never done before, because there are lots of good reasons why you should be doing the new. Today's episode is roughly based on 5 tips in my blog, which I hope you all subscribe to. It's called badgirlgoodbizblog.com, and it's all about breaking rules in order to grow. And today we have a really, really terrific lineup of guests who are all going to talk about things that they've done and they've discovered in their own lives that make sense to change and to do the new. So in no particular order, thank you all for logging in today. And I'm going to start with Kyle, my wonderful producer and sidekick in my recordings. So Kyle, who are you? What do you do? And what is the biggest thing that you've changed in your life, either recently or ever, that has led to great things, other than meeting me, of course?
All right. Well, I'm very glad that you said that joke, because I thought you were going to say other than going freelance and working with you, because that was going to be my answer. I am Kyle Decker. I have been podcasting for 7 years, and that's just kind of my identity now. I originally did it as a fun side thing, thinking this won't take too much time, and now that's what I do full time. And yeah, no, the big change was going freelance, which thanks almost entirely to Nancy has really led to good things. I don't know if I told you this, Nancy. You are the reason I went freelance, because I wasn't planning on doing it. But then it was like, well, do you... But then you were like, hey, do you want to do my podcast? And I was like, okay, sure. And then I was like, I guess I'm freelancing now.
You know, I know that Kyle doesn't like to toot his own horn or blow his own noisemaker, but he just landed another gig in addition to working for me. He's going to be also shooting my snippet videos, my seasonal snippet videos, and he's working at another podcast studio as their lead producer. And they
that you found for me.
Yes,
awesome.
I'm a connector. What can I say? Matt, you're on next, and you did something really big and bold. So go for it.
Yeah, hey everyone. My name is Matt Caldwell. I work in training and development for a tech firm. And last year, I actually relocated from the Arizona area, downtown Phoenix, to London in the United Kingdom. So took a big leap of 9,000 kilometers away and pretty much started a whole new life in a new continent.
Pretty big and bold and ballsy. And Matt used to be my neighbor, and he's also been a podcast guest. We did an episode on how to date out of state, which Matt and I both often do. Not each other.
Well, now you can expand that.
Exactly. Yeah, now it's out of continent, it's all kinds of different things now.
Right, how to date across the pond.
Right. Yeah.
Abby.
Hi, my name is Abby Allo. I am a registered dietitian and a personal trainer of Nancy. I'm a fat melter, and yeah, I like to torture people.
And I have lost, thanks to Abby and her wife, fellow trainer Claire, I've lost 11 inches since October. Not from my boobs,
That's
thankfully,
awesome.
but other parts. And what's the biggest, boldest thing you've done recently or over the past year?
Ditching the I'm too busy phase. So I started prioritizing myself, taking care of myself, meal planning, getting my own workouts before my clients. So I have to do it at like 3 or 4 in the morning to get it out of the way. Otherwise, I won't do it at the end of the day because I'd be too tired.
Yeah, and Abby's company is Mad Fit. She's definitely worth following on Facebook and Insta because she's got the naughtiest posts I've ever seen, but good and great social media person. She has good ideas. Lori.
Yes. So Lori Miller, I have an interior design firm, and part of what I do is the psychology end of the design. So I have a dual degree. At 62, I up and decided to end a 12-year relationship where I was engaged. sold him my house, and now I'm starting all over completely fresh. So I may come visit you in London, Matt.
Please do, yeah.
Freedom.
And Lori and I met because I was at the East Hampton Grill and I was looking for new window treatments for my house. And I asked the bartender, do you happen to know anybody in the Hamptons who does interior design? And she sent me to Lori, who ended up, although she didn't get the job, she and I became friends and now podcast guests. So that's a great story, Lori. Thank you for sharing. I had no idea. We didn't really talk about that. We talked about our windows and the podcast.
Right.
Yeah, that
Exactly.
is very, very ballsy. Megan.
Hi, my name is Megan Leah. I am a hairstylist and a salon owner. I would say probably the craziest thing and the boldest thing that I have done this year is decided to cut my work schedule back. I've been a slave to my business by choice. I'm a workaholic, and I decided that this year I was going to take my life back into my own hands and enjoy some time out of the salon, because 10 years of building this has been great, but I'm ready to live my life again and actually enjoy life. So yeah, scary, but I'm ready.
Megan is also an incredible singer.
Yes.
I feel like I'm everybody's agent, but
yes. Oh my gosh.
if you follow her on social, you'll see hear some of her singles. She's amazing.
Yeah. I'm starting to do that transition of cutting back at the salon and pursuing my music career a little bit more. And I just started music production school today. So
Yay.
there we go.
And Megan is responsible for my hair, obviously.
Yeah. My beautiful blonde.
Yeah, she's a blonde freak. And so when I moved to Arizona, of course, I had to go in that direction because everybody here is blonde. And Dawn, last but not least.
Woohoo! Hi. It's funny because I feel like I've touched on every single thing that you guys have talked about. In the last year, my husband of 10 years and we've never lived together. We bought a house last January, so we're in 1 year here in our new house together. We are getting new window treatments, like in 5 weeks. We're renovating the entire house. I got a new car. I changed my hair from brown to covering the gray, but became blonde.
Wow.
And the whole reason, if you guys are seeing me like going like this all the time, it's because we just got 2 golden retriever puppies in the last year, Rosie and Reggie, and they keep harassing me. I have no furniture in my house because we're getting ready to redo the entire house, doing new floors, new painting, new everything. And let's see, I bought a new car for the dogs. And that's it. I joined Serhant. I'm a real estate agent after being a journalist for forever. I joined Serhant 2 years ago, and this year, my second year with the firm, I am the #1 agent by sales transactions for 2024. So, yeah, I am not trying to slow down my work life. It's bonkers.
And for those of you who don't know who Serhant is, he's was one of the brokers on $1 Million Listing New York. If you Google him, you will find him. He was way ahead of the social media curve. I met Dawn when she was a journalist. And so I've seen her whole evolution from journalist to real estate agent to Serhantian. I don't know, whatever the Serhant people call themselves.
He'll love that.
She got me an interview with Ryan Serhant, and I was fascinated at the fact that he's turning, speaking of new and disruptive ideas, he is turning all of his brokerage offices into production studios. Because as we all know, if you don't have a digital footprint today, you don't exist. His brokers and agents are all getting trained on social media, and he's been way ahead of the curve. And I believe didn't he just launch a technology company, Dawn?
Well, he did. And we also have a new show that is on Netflix. The season 1 premiered and they immediately picked up for season 2. It's called Owning Manhattan. And it is, so far, the first season was pretty much all about Manhattan, but this next season hopefully will be out in the Hamptons more or any of our other markets. But yeah, this guy has built his whole entire life on tech and on being seen in social media. And I'm grateful to have my opportunity and backup on those platforms as well.
So most of you, like me, are in service businesses. Matt, I know you work in corporate, but how do you deal with clients or coworkers or customers who just refuse to do new things. And I'll sort of kick it off. Abby and Claire and I had a tete-a-tete this morning because I refused to follow their meal plan, which was way too restrictive. So, we talked it out and we reached a compromise. And I mean, I'm happy with it. I think Abby and Claire are happy with it. When I jump on my high-tech scale next week, we'll all know if we're happy with it. But yeah, I mean, that's a classic example where I was actually the client and I was being like a bratty 2-year-old. And I said, I'm just not doing
As a
that.
teenager.
Yeah, fuck you. I'm not eating rice and flavorless chicken. Not happening. I'm not stretching in the gym. My list of hell no's. So what about the rest of you?
When working with people that don't want to do new things, I think it's making sure they understand it or being willing to decide, okay, if they're not going to like doing this, if it needs to get done and I know this is the right way, am I willing to risk just going ahead and doing it? And I think sometimes the answer to that is yes. I know this is the right new way. I know we should do this. I have the right background to make that decision. And if it fails, you have to take that ownership. And if they don't want to do it, then that's, I think, kind of on the coworker. But I think it's really important about knowing, right, why are you doing the new thing? And showing them that you're willing to put your work and your own name behind it, I think has been a pretty convincing way for me to change some important processes.
Well, you can't always do that, though, if you're working with somebody's hair or somebody's body or somebody's home. So what are some other tactics that the rest of you have used? But I love that, Matt, like, just doing it yourself and role modeling for them. Dawn, go ahead.
May I? Well, I have dogs fighting now next to me, of course. I live in the Hamptons, and we always would joke that our demographic is 60 to dead, right? So most of my clients are more mature people. And I do sometimes get some resistance from some people, but next week I have a closing with a lady who's 84 years old, and she's like doing yoga every day and going places every day. And she's just very vibrant and exciting. I love her. But I think the big thing is when I'm talking with someone or working with someone who is a little resistant to change, it's important to go back to the initial conversation I have with them to say, what is it that is motivating you to do this thing now? Like, why do you want to do this? Is this in line or in plan with what you wanted to do, why you reached out to me? And if it is, then we find a way to work within their comfort zone. And if it's not, then we find a way to make the comfort zone work for them. I don't know. I'm a very big believer as a fiduciary that my entire existence as an agent is to do, there's a dog behind me, is to do everything in the best interest of my client. And if they feel somehow, even if it's my strong advice that they do something that they don't want to do, I'm not going to push them so much that they're way uncomfortable. I'm only going to do everything I can possibly in my own existence to work in their best interest. And that's, so far, it's worked out really, really great.
What about you, Megan? Like, somebody comes to you and they want to be a redhead and you just know that, like, they're going to look awful as a redhead. Like,
yeah. So I always tell my clients, and most of my clients have been with me for 6, 7, 8 years now. And originally I'm from New Jersey, so I like to keep things pretty real and honest. And either people really liked me or they didn't like me. But my one thing that I will tell you is if you're going to look bad or if I'm not proud with you, walking around with your hair like that. So on the opposite end, I would say when someone comes to me and they want to change, I'm actually pretty strict. So this is kind of opposite of you guys. But on my end, if someone says, hey, I want to, I've been a blonde my entire life, but I really want to go red, and red is the hardest color to remove. I know that they're a blonde girl at heart. I will put my foot down and I will say, no, we're not doing that. If you would like to go somewhere else and see someone else to do that. But I know in your best interest, I know who you are. At the end of the day, in 6 months, you're going to be blonde, want to be blonde again. And if you want to have fried off hair, I'm not going to be the person to do that. So I usually am just pretty upfront and honest with my clients, and I'm pretty direct with them. And I just tell them the truth. And most of the time they agree with me because, I know it's best. They trust me. And, at the end of the day, nobody wants fried hair. Nobody wants ugly hair. And nobody wants to be unhappy long-term with a decision that's based off an emotion. So that's how I handle my people.
So, my clients come in all different sorts of opinions and their houses are very different. So, like with one client, I wanted to paint her entryway this dark brown, and she was like flipping. I'm like, go on vacation, you'll come back. She came back, she called me up, and she was like, oh my God, I hate this. I said, all right, live with it for a week. If you still hate it, I'll repaint it. So it's giving them kind of an option. Well, she still loves it. They had a leak from upstairs. She wanted to know the name of the color so she could repaint it the same brown. So, it depends on what kind of change it's going to be and what the personality of the person is. But I'm definitely, I think, feel strongly about it, I'll take the risk and say, all right, I'll fix it if you don't like it, or I'll return it back to something safe.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just have to listen to the temper tantrum, and like a 2-year-old, let them yell and scream and wet their pants and bang on the walls. And, it's not you, it's them fighting change.
Right. And an education behind it. It's like, this is why it should be this way. I'm not just randomly pulling something out my butt. So
and as experimental as I am, when I worked with a color analyst and a stylist. The color analyst wanted me to switch my jewelry from silver to gold. And I remember I argued with her for like 15 minutes, and now I'm a gold girl. Like, I wear both, but then the stylist told me to get a moto jacket. I'm like, what the fuck?
you said that.
I'm not Stevie Nicks. But she's like, no, but you have the Stevie Nicks vibe. So guess what I'm wearing today? I'm wearing my vegan leather $60 moto jacket, which I ended up buying in 2 colors. But I threw my tantrum first, and then I felt better because I felt like I had worked through the process. So Abby, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this.
I pretty much just hit him with a mix of patience, and I always tell him, hey, let's try it my way once. And if that doesn't work, I let reality humble them, and the result speaks louder than nagging. So, and what we do with food and workout, it's science. And so with all of our clients, we have so many people that's getting results. And if one's not doing it, I mean, it's like I said, it's science. If you're not doing A, B, C, and D, we have to do something. So we adapt and we figure it out, what's holding you back, what's stopping you. But yeah, normally they just humble themselves. Like, you know what? My way is not working. I guess I'll try it your way for at least a week or 2, and let's figure it out. So.
Yeah, the other thing that I find works sometimes, like this morning when we were meeting, you probably told me at some point in the past and I didn't realize it or I didn't process it when you said, well, I'm a registered dietitian and we've had this training in food and nutrition. I'm like, oh, really? I didn't know that. So I sometimes do that with my clients where I say, you know what? I worked on the MasterCard Priceless campaign. So I think I know a thing or two about branding. So if you think that your 16-year-old son's friend is a better brander than I am, then go for it. Go hire them.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what I've done for a living for companies of all sizes. So, I think that we as women sometimes are hesitant to like flaunt our credentials, but it doesn't hurt when you're faced with somebody who's resistant to change. Just don't do it in an assholey way.
Right.
Kyle, what about you?
You are all so brave and so communicative. I just don't. So it's a big difficulty for me because one of the things Dawn hit on was, the importance of getting to the core of what they want. And as a freelancer, that's especially what I should be focusing on because I have this whole responsibility of like, you want to get to their goals. So like I'm not just producing Nancy's podcast, I'm figuring out how it relates to everything else. However, I come from a world where I was just a guy working at a company. And in that case, it's the exact opposite. You do literally what they tell you to. And in my old company, it was just have it in writing that you told them it was a bad idea, but don't push them on it. So now it's a mental shift for me because I'm very used to I'll just do what they want. I'll warn them once. If they don't follow, that's fine. And I still do believe that following that agency is good. But yeah, you do need to communicate more. If I think it's really important, I'll just do it myself. For processes, that's really easy, and I can explain why with the question. Nancy, when we finish recording, what happens between that and the episode being published?
Oh, you take the raw footage and you edit it and turn it into something brilliant with no mistakes and no ums and uhs. And I don't care if you use AI or, I don't care how the sausages are made as long as they taste great at the end. And then you slice and dice segments into stuff that is really pithy and compelling and engaging so that we can all get more traffic on social media. And when Kyle and I first started working together, I think transitioning from an order taking mode to a freelance mode, he was like, well, what do you want? And I said, you tell me what I want. You're the expert. And sadly, there would be a wonderful world if all clients said to their independent contractors, you're the expert, you tell me what to do. But we know that that's not the world in which we live, which is why I asked that question, which is really a good segue into, in your own personal and professional lives, what things do you find yourself still resisting, or when someone tells you to do something? I mean, for me, I just need time to process, and I need to put it in, like my 8th grade algebra teacher would say before we left class. She would say, now take it and make it yours. And so I think Miss Smith's voice is still in my head, that I need to take it, I need to process it, and then I need to make it mine. I need to process it in a way that it makes sense to me. Like, just to use an example, when I went to Megan and I said, I'm thinking of changing my hair color, and she's like, I'm going to make you blonde and give you extensions. I was like, what the fuck? Like, no, like, we don't do that in New York. Like, that's not a thing. But like, now I can't imagine myself not blonde and not with extensions. Like,
I've known you for a long time, Nancy, and I love this color more than anything else I've ever seen on you.
Well, it's all on Megan. And so, yes, I'm channeling my inner Stevie Nicks. I wish I had her talent and her bank account, but you don't want to hear me sing. So what do you find yourself resisting, just as humans, as workers, and any aspect of your life?
So I'll answer that one. And Abby, you'll love that. She's coming to get me for sure. So I've been resisting my personal trainer. Like, she keeps telling me I need to like get on the treadmill every morning, or do my Peloton that's collecting dust downstairs, or some sort of let's get up and move for, walk 10,000 steps or however many. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen today. I'm exhausted. It's too early in the morning. I'm already getting going. It's too late at night. So yeah, that's what I'm resisting. Thanks, Abby.
I'm twitching.
And any tips, Abby, of how she could get over that resistance?
What's stopping you?
Honestly, I'm just exhausted. We've been working 24/7, and with all the moves and changes, and I'm moving my mom who's 88. It's just a lot. It's like, and we're working. I'm in the city. I'm leaving the house at 6 a.m. It's like, do I really want to get up at 4:30? I'm getting home at 9 o'clock at night.
Yes, you do.
No, I
You
don't.
have to be mentally ready, as Abby will tell you. Like, I had a really, really rough week over the holidays, and I was just like, leave me alone. When I'm ready, you'll know that I'm ready. And when I was ready, it was like, Abby, you saw, I showed up on time, suited up, ready to rock and roll. You have to fix what's up here first before you can move your ass.
And there's a lot of things. If you're too tired, it's just managing, your time. You're a priority too, because you can't take care of all these people if you are not healthy. So it comes to your food, your diet, your hormones is really important, because we're over 40s. So we got to figure out our hormones, our thyroid. There's so many moving parts. But yeah.
And I have a therapist coming on the show later this month talking about how to unstick yourself. So we should all listen to that one, because I think we've all been there.
But you can do it. I believe in you.
Thank you.
So Megan, you mentioned, that you made this decision to like work less, play more, work on your music. Was there something that was a catalyst that pushed you to finally do that?
Yeah, I think, not that I am old by any means, but in the music industry, there is a certain amount of time within a certain period of your life that, you have the body that can move that way. And, my voice will only be as strong as it is right now, through the rest of my late 20s and into my 30s. And I just decided that if I kept going at the same rate, I kept working 60 plus hours a week and doing this, like, if you don't prioritize certain things in your life when you are busy, you're never going to achieve new goals. And so for me to achieve the new goals, I had to take that energy that I've built into my hair business and I had to shift that energy, that physical everyday energy. And I had to create space for the music. I mean, there's no space. If I'm working 60 plus hours a week, you know, I'm exhausted too. Like you said, Lori, like you're just so tired if you don't make the time to make the change. Not going to happen. My music career is never going to take off. If I'm working at the salon 60 hours a week, when am I flying to LA and when am I going to record? And, so for me, it was a personal decision of like, you got to just do it and figure it out. And the only way to figure it out was to create more time for myself. And the only way I could do that is if I cut back and I changed my schedule. And for me, it's honestly, I've actually seen a lot of things in my music career actually really like it's in a really good place right now where I'm starting to kind of take off in certain things. And it's because this past year I've stopped taking new clients on and, whatever I needed to do so that January 1st, I can cut my schedule back. I'm not worried about it and make the transition a little bit smoothly. But I really think like it really is a mental thing. Even with working out, it's the same thing. Like with my working out stuff, like schedule, I literally message my clients. I respond to my emails. Those 30 minutes I take to sit down on my laptop, I'm on my computer, I'm using my Gmail app and I'm, walking on the treadmill for 30 minutes. And that's how I get my, stuff in during the day. Makes it a lot easier. It's something that I'm already going to message my clients. So why not, step on the treadmill? But yeah, that's the catalyst is you just have to, put your mind to it and say, hey, I'm going to do this and figure out how to do that. So
we can be best friends.
Yeah, I mean, when I met Megan, it was like 6 years ago. She was just starting out in her salon, and it's just amazing to see like what she's built. So, yeah. And again, the whole point of Age Blind is I love having guests on at all ages and stages because we realize all the things that we have in common. I wasn't making enough time for self-care or my priorities either. And we're not going to say how old we are because it's irrelevant, but we're like 4 decades apart and we all suffer from the same
thing. Yeah.
Same lead in our asses. Anyone else? What kinds of things have you been stuck on and how have you unstuck yourself?
In the last year, one of the biggest things I have done that I did not mention is last February 15th, I hired an assistant and her name is Vanessa. She is freaking amazing. She runs my social media for me. She does all my back end stuff. She does what we call a CRM. We call it our SRM, of course, because it's her hand. She has done so many of these things for me that are back end things that would take me literally 10 hours a day to do that I don't have to do anymore. So I can spend almost all of my time in front of clients. I was so hesitant and worried to do that because like paying someone a salary is a big deal, right? Especially when I'm 4 years into real estate, right? Like as an agent, that's it. So it was a huge leap. I'm like, can I afford to do this? Can I afford to have someone depend on me? Like, what if it doesn't work out? Like, what am I going to do? And I have to tell you, it was the best investment I've ever made in my business. She has made it possible for me to do 4 times the business this year than I've ever done. 5 times? I don't even know. Like, it's a lot. She's changed my life. I'm so grateful. I love her.
Dawn, I hired an assistant last year and it almost doubled my income. It made my life a lot easier. And if you do have a business that you can do that, and it is, yes, you are taking a chunk out of your money. But I think, one thing that all of us could agree is in business, your time is your money, right? Mm-hmm. That's something you can't get back. So if you have someone doing all the things that take you a long time and you're paying them, you're able to make more money during that time. And I think it's a really valuable thing.
I agree. And I think it's a mind shift too, Megan, like where you're just like, then it becomes not about the money, but it becomes about like, look at all of these things I'm getting because of it. And that's such a gift. Yeah.
But it's so easy to just do things the hard way. Because that's my issue. That's my problem is that, especially if I like doing something, it's very easy to see doing something not the hard way as somehow cheaping out. And especially in the kind of work I do, AI, I hate it. I don't actually like hate it, but I hate the term because it meant... Well, because that's the thing. That guy and an actual like C-3PO and ChatGPT and the software that I use to, mix camera cuts, they're all radically different, but because AI took on, they're all AI. And it's very difficult for me for a couple of reasons. One, because I do think there is some quote unquote unethical AI, or at least unethical uses. I know when generative AI took off, people were like, oh, I'll have it make this piece for me, or like write this book for me so I can make money. And it's like, wow, that's just soulless. But the thing is, that's not what all AI is. A lot of it is tools that can be helpful, and a lot of it just flat out isn't generative AI. It's not what people think of. Because that's a buzzword, that's what people use. So I already have this natural difficulty with doing things not the hard way. And this whole, it's gotten so much harder because everyone's using the name and I never know exactly what it is. The way I get over it is I just use it for the things I don't really want to do. Like captions, I hate them. I hate writing captions. They take forever. I'm going to just plug it into a program that does it for me. And is that AI? No, that software has existed for a long time. Are they going to call it AI? Absolutely. So that's how I've at least embraced it more. But it's still a challenge. One, again, because I said I just don't know what's actually sketchy and what's legit. And then there is that natural inclination that when we get to things that I like doing, what parts should I still get those, basically use the extra tools for?
Yeah.
Not getting it replaced, but making it streamlined. Because it's very easy to take something I'm not comfortable with or I don't like and saying, yeah, do this for me. I don't care. But when we get to the stuff that I do like, that's where it gets tricky.
Just in terms of when I'm resistant to change things, I think it's things that are all or nothing. It can feel so hard when I'm working on something and then I have to totally shift. Like your example, Megan, with, if I'm going to take on this new thing, I have to give something up. And we've all talked about, it's time. Like with everything, if I'm going to choose to pursue this project at work, guess what? Something else has to drop.
Yep.
And if I've worked really hard on something, I can find myself being like, but self, you've already spent so much time and effort. Get out. Like, I have to get better at getting that mindset of, yes, you are going to have to give something up, but you can do it. When I always tell people, the advice that I don't take myself as much, you can always go back. You can always change things. Like, had I moved to the UK and absolutely hated it, Arizona's still here.
Yeah.
Anywhere else, you can go back to what you were doing before in most cases. And so and it's not permanent. I think sometimes we get in this mindset of, well, if I try this new thing and it doesn't work, okay, fucking good. Like, great. You can go back and now you can at least say you've done it. But I think whenever things are that all or nothing mindset, that's where I struggle with resisting, but something that I'm working on.
Well, Abby, you brought something up earlier when, Lori was talking about not working out, and you said, what is the factor that is sticking you? Is it
What's stopping you?
Is it time? Is it your perception that you don't have time? Is it you're doing other things? Are you people pleasing? When someone says, oh, last year I got snookered into being a judge for some lame award thing. And then I had to go to the dinner afterwards and I didn't have to do any of it. I just did it because a woman I know suggested it to me and I thought it was a good thing. And it's like, that goes on the list of things that she recommends that I will, if she recommends anything, I almost know now not to do
Never do it again.
But I'm getting much better at the ripe old age of 68, almost 69, of learning how to say no or not now in a way that doesn't make me feel like I'm letting people down. So speaking of pleasing people, I'm sure our listeners and our viewers may want to reach out to some of you, whether it's to build muscle or decorate their homes or move into a new home or go blonde or...
I want to go blonde. It always turns orange. So
well, that's because you don't go to Megan. So
I know I will.
If we can just go around the salt box, as I call it, the Sex Life Tech box. Dawn, if people want to reach you, how do they find you?
It's super easy. It's my first name, Dawn, at Serhant, S as in Sam, ERHANT.com. You can call me at 917-287-2455. Pretty much anything in New York, but mostly the Hamptons. I'm very happy to help you or just give you advice or listen to hear what you need for real estate.
And when people hear the Hamptons, they think like bougie, yachts, mansions. There is another Hamptons that's more down to earth. And then there are places that are up island. And a lot of people are getting out of the Hamptons and going to other places on Long Island that are Hamptons like, but are just not as.
Or upstate New York or South Carolina or Vermont or wherever. Yeah. I mean, the best part of my job is that I get to help people live better lives through real estate, and that's awesome. The worst part is I keep helping my friends move away. But then they get to live like millionaires somewhere else.
Well, you should open an office in Arizona.
I think they probably are. I don't know.
I know Sirhan needs to be here because we don't have enough real estate agents. Kyle, what about you?
You can find me. I'm not going to mention any of my podcasting stuff. You can find me at Instagram.com/Decalodean because 2 years ago I decided to try something new and actually do just digital art. And it's not a job or anything. It's literally just for fun. But since I have the luxury of doing different pitches on every single one of these, I'm going to mention that link because that's the one most relevant to this month's theme.
All right. And if you want to get started in podcasting, just ask me and I will connect you to Kyle. Matt.
Yeah, the easiest way for me is probably Instagram. So it's Matt Caldwell _904. You can also add me on LinkedIn, Matt Caldwell MBA. I'll come right up. And yeah, always happy to talk through moving abroad, anything really, travel. So yeah.
Megan.
Okay. As much as I would love to do your hair, I am no longer taking new clients. So that I focus on my music career, and you can find my music stuff on Instagram, and it's at Mimi, MIMIFOXX music. So Mimi Fox music, and would love for you to keep up with my journey.
Cool. Lori.
Okay, it's Lori Miller, LORI, but it's LGC Interior Design, and that's the website is LGC Interior Design. The Instagram is LGC.Interior Design. LinkedIn, I'm Lori Miller, and I have, I guess, the other page, LGC Interior Design, so I'm consistent. So you can pretty much find me anywhere. My cell phone, easily reachable, 516-317-9083, and I'm everywhere. Thanks.
And Abby, I know that some of our listeners are in the Arizona and the Phoenix area. Others may not be, but you're super entertaining and motivating no matter where in the world you live. So how can people find you?
Yes, our website is madfitunlimited.com, and you can find us on our Instagram, which is madfit_unlimited.
And that's MAD, M-A-D.
Mad, M-A-D.
As in wild and crazy.
That's right. That's me. Or my personal one, it's madfitpro_ABZ for abs.
Abby trains real deal bodybuilders. So that's what I look at for motivation. It's like, well, I never want to do that. But like, if I can even get like 5% of the way there, I'll be very happy. Me, obviously, you can find this podcast if you're listening. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple, it's wherever you get your podcasts. We also have a YouTube channel if you want to see our lovely faces. And follow me on Instagram. I am splitting my personality in February, like not literally. I'm not like it's not like a civil
That
moment.
sounds violent, and I don't like it.
I'm separating my personal brand stuff from my work stuff. So there will be a big reveal in February when my personal brand website goes live. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, you could follow me at The On Switch. That's my handle on most social media, TheonSwitch. And as we say in the intro to the podcast, forget about the date on your birth certificate. We should all be defined by what we have in common, as opposed to saying, well, boomers do this and Gen X does that. And because I'm 68, I'm never going to be able to lose weight or get in shape or, meet a man or do whatever I want to do. I am truly age blind and becoming more so by the day. So thank you all. The guests today it was a 4-decade span, and we all found all the stuff that we had in common. So kudos to all of you. And have an awesome 2025 and embrace the new. Thank you all.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Peace.
Yes.